All right, all right, all right. We have an official video from Joe Blackburn, who's the game director for Destiny 2. Now, they're the ones who wrote the State of the Game article, which obviously received a ton of backlash. And so now they're giving us a video format style. I'm not sure if this is going to be an apology video or what this is going to be. Let's just go ahead and dive in and see what this is all about together here, okay?
Kind of communications.
Let's start from the beginning.
Hey everybody, it's Joe, and I'm just here to check in on how Destiny's going. So a few weeks ago, we put about a state of the game communication that wasn't up to our standards for what y'all have come to expect for those kinds of communications. It didn't provide the high-level vision that we normally provide, and really and truly, a bunch of us were heads down working the final shape and weren't able to give it the sort of care and love that we normally put into these kind of communications. And that's nobody's fault but mine here on this. So I wanted to come in, talk to you all directly, and sort of give you an update on what we thought about the state of the game that we put out and what we think about Destiny as a whole. Now, this is going to be pretty different than normal. This isn't a highly produced sort of production. It's me in my office.
Off the cuff.
It's not scripted. I've got a bunch of notes here that we're going to read
Someone
through.
screenshot that.
And it's going to feel probably more like you're just in a meeting with me, which is going to be rambly, and we're probably going to mess up a few times. But really, I just want to go over where we're thinking about the game. So what we're going to talk about today, we're going to talk about the reveal coming out next week. We're going to talk about PvP. We're going to talk about armor. We're going to talk about our communication strategy. Those are the big ones. So let's just get right into it. Let's start with reveal. Next week, we're going to go out and we're going to show an awesome showcase for the final shape. We're really excited about a bunch of the content in there, but truly, that showcase is not a reaction to the state of the game last week. It's not a reaction to a bunch of the sentiment online, and it's definitely not a reaction to this video. It was recorded a while ago. I think I have a mustache in the video, and it's a pretty focused reveal. In the same way that the game itself is pretty focused. The final shape is focused on the light. It's focused on the enemies we've been setting up and the allies that you've come to know. It's not about a bunch of wacky new systems or wacky new themes coming into Destiny. Instead, we want to make an experience that's super easy for anyone who's ever played Destiny to come in and absolutely fall in love with the content that's before them. I think the other thing that's really important here to know as I sort of look at my meeting notes is that communication is built for a pretty wide audience, much wider than probably whoever is watching this video. So what we're not going to talk about is things like a big new Strange Coin refactor and Xur revamp that's coming out in the final shape. We're not going to talk about things like a refactor of HUD elements where we're making sure the buffs and the debuffs are more clear and you can tell what's happening in higher level combat. It's going to, again, really be focused on the story, really be focused on the location, and maybe we'll get into a little bit about how the live service of Destiny is going to change after the final shape. Following that showcase, Dan, our GM, and I are going to be on set, taking questions, dotting T's, crossing I's, or maybe the reverse of that, on what you've seen in the showcase. So we'll provide a little bit more clarity on what was shown, and we'll probably get into some ways that maybe our philosophy on the final shape or specific details might have changed over the last few weeks since we recorded the showcase. All right, I think that's it for reveal. If I'm looking at the sheet next, we've got
the reveal's
PvP.
good.
So let's start with the state of PvP right now in Destiny. What have we been doing? What have we been focused on?
Big nothing burger.
We've been really focused on sandbox balance. So like a big focus of effort last year was just making sure that Strand came out in a good place and got to live sort of in harmony with the rest of our Crucible ecosystem. Aside from that, we've been focusing on putting up 2 weapon balances per season, one at the start, one in the mid-season. And we've been focusing on ritual updates to PvP, be this mode updates, point updates, reward updates at the beginning of each season. Finally, if we flip over to our agenda, we've been focused on making 1 new map and a few reprises a year. Now, all that aside, I think it's fair to say this approach is not producing the Crucible that our players expect us. So what are we going to do? How are we going to change? First, let's talk about maps. It's clear that the sort of slow trickle of PvP maps isn't having the effect we want. And although it gets an injection of PvP maps every so often into the ecosystem, it's also forcing this like one new map a year means we're trying to build a map that has to do everything, which means it can't be good at anything. So next year, we're going to change our philosophy. Instead of a slow trickle of maps throughout the year, we're going to focus our effort into a single map pack that's free for everyone. So imagine new maps coming in one drop where we can make a bunch of new experiences that can all be good at specific things.
How many, though?
It has a big variety in a single drop next year. Now, this is a shift from our strategy, so it's going to take us time to sort of understand the details of what we're putting out here and getting that out to you all next year. Okay, maps are
Better
great,
be more than 2.
but we still really believe that PvP is about the foundation, and new maps aren't going to solve a foundation. So, modes. First of all, I'm really excited about what's coming out in Season 22, first with Checkmate. Checkmate is a mode all about that sort of primary fire, basic weapon excellence of Bungie games, and being able to show that excellence in a PvP setting. It's what a bunch of our like really marksman style PvP players have been asking for a long time since Destiny 1. And we're finally going to put a mode like that in the game. And I'm super excited for a bunch of those players to get that experience starting right away in Season 22. Next, we've got Relic. And so Relic is a different kind of mode.
Relic's going to be
is a building off of these experiments that we've been doing with things like Fortress or Eruption, where it's about this quality Destiny sandbox experience of your guns and your powers that escalates when you succeed in sort of a crazy mayhem-like experience. And we think the balance of those two things is a really great time to sort of spin away from other parts of the game and get the full spectrum of what Destiny has to offer. I'm really excited about things like Fortress, and I'm really excited that Relic is going to provide an experience like this that is both, you know, fun for people that are really good at slaying out and also has these sort of like high octane hijinks moments to it.
Modes looks good.
But that's what we've already committed to. So let's talk about some new things.
Yeah, what's the new stuff?
One, we know we need to bring more of our modes into the core playlists. We've been putting a lot out in labs. We've been putting a lot out in Iron Banner. And to be honest, there's a few obstacles to us putting these into our core playlists, be this VO or small bug level issues that we just were like, I don't know if we're ready. I think that has been blocking us from doing the right thing here. So we're going to take on some of that bug weight. We're going to take on some of a little bit of the jank, and we're going to say, no. This isn't worth us not putting into the mode. And so we're going to take some of these modes that we've been putting in Crucible Labs, that we've been putting in Iron Banner, and taking them and putting them into the core PvP experience that most of our players experience. We've also heard a lot about comp, and particularly about the way that we reward points in comp. So we want to take a new approach to the way that we're balancing points in comp. Right now, we think it's just weighted too much on your personal MMR,
definitely
people you're playing against. And when you win or when you lose a game, it can be really unpredictable how many points you're getting. We're going to go to a simpler system where winning or losing just matters more. Finally, we want to get great modes like Countdown Rush into competitive and get modes that people are less excited about, like Rift, out of the rotation, making that competitive experience more about the game modes that, you know, our players enjoy. Okay, so we've talked map strategy, we've talked modes.
Loot, where's the loot?
One other effort we want to do here. We're going to bolster what we call a PvP strike team. Throughout Destiny development, we've built strike teams for efforts before. This has probably been sort of invisible to you all in the audience, but in moments like in between Curse of Osiris and Warmind, we built a strike team for Destiny investment. This team was sort of built around, hey, how can we make it more rewarding and more enjoyable to just get stuff in Destiny 2? This team built stuff very quickly, like what would eventually become the masterworking system. They also went through, knocked out a whole bunch of bugs, knocked out a whole bunch of quality of life issues. We're going to take the same effort and we're going to build a PvP strike team around the same principle, but have it focused on the Crucible.
Nice.
It's going to be led by PvP developers, and
it
has a really interesting playbook for how this works. And that's that first the team decides what they want to do. They as a team get together, say, hey, these are the changes we want to make. those changes go through me, they go through our systems CD, and then when we say, yep, those are great changes, they immediately get communicated with you all in the community, right? So this will be going out in a TWID, going out in
almost called it a twab.
a Twitter post, or going out on Reddit, right? Just sort of some immediate blast, like, hey, these are the changes coming. And those changes get communicated even before they start getting implemented. And then we start getting implemented. We found this formula is a really successful way for us to be able to push through changes quickly into the community. And I think one of the most exciting parts about these strike teams is we build them based off of community feedback. So these strike teams are built from the ground up to look at, hey, what are the pain points that are hitting our community the most? And so all this list is going to be built and burned down from, hey, these are the big issues the PvP community is looking at in Destiny. All right, I think that's the end of the PvP part of our agenda. If I'm looking at our notes,
That was
here,
actually pretty solid.
I
I mean,
now going to talk about.
I'm
armor.
skeptical. Like, we'll wait until it actually goes into effect.
It's probably been a while since we talked about this part about armor, but we might have talked about it before. I want to start with just talking about like, armor visual categories in Destiny. So at the top, we've got what we call aspirational armor. This is stuff like raids, trials, dungeons. We want the armor that comes from these activities to be flashy, or to like really talk about the core of what that experience is. It's really important that when players earn these armors, they feel proud, they want to wear them, they want to show them off in the tower. Next, we've got silver, right? This is armor that you can buy for the store for silver. It's important for us that this feels like it's sort of breaking the mold of what you could expect in a Destiny game. It's our place to experiment with stuff that's a little bit fourth wall breaky. And importantly, we want anyone that spends silver on armor to feel like, hey, it was worth it, right? Like I got my money's worth when I spent this armor, it was cool. Then we have what I call narrative armor. This is the stuff that you'll see in any sort of our marketing trailers.
Yeah, season
it's the
armor.
stuff that you earn in the season pass. It's the stuff that you earn in the post game of a campaign. And it's really about driving home what that specific moment in time was. So in season 21, it's deep sea diver armor, right? In Witch Queen, it's sort of like weird paranormal detective armor. You'll see what it is in the final shape here in a week or so. But that armor for us is really about like driving home this clear, consistent fantasy of like, oh yeah, I was there. I remember that time in Destiny. Finally, we've got rituals and blues. And this space has always sort of been about that core Guardian fantasy. What does the Guardian look like that you would imagine sort of the stereotypical everyday Guardian, or the Guardian that you see on the front line? Maybe tragically a Guardian that tried to go into the portal of the Traveler and then gets cut up into a million pieces. This is that spot. And we need a lot of armor here to sort of flesh out those fantasies. Now, sometime in the middle of last year, we sort of reevaluated our priorities on armor. And we said, hey, we need to be spending more on the
Eververse
armors
armor
that people care the most about, the people that earn, that spend, that do all this to this so they can sort of get these armors in the game. So this is like our PvP stuff in trials, our aspirational stuff in raids and dungeons, our narrative stuff. We thought we weren't consistently hitting the bar enough in those looks. And I think that since that initiative, we've been really successful in this. We've put out great stuff in terms of like cowboy armor for
Cowboy armor was
Spire.
pretty cool.
We've put out awesome stuff in the Root of Nightmares raid, and we've put out a bunch of awesome armor sets for sort of a deep sea fantasy last season and Season of the Deep.
I'll give you that.
What we failed to do when we reprioritized, hey, where are our resources going, is communicate this to you. So we knew that when we made this change, we weren't going to be able to make a ritual armor set every single year. And we thought, okay, well, that's fine. We have a lot that fits this sort of base Guardian fantasy. But we should have communicated that.
Yes, you promised it.
So,
Why would you
I'd like
not
to say,
do it?
but this is not a thing that we're never going to invest in. We're investing in it again in the final shape. There's
You just
going to
skipped
be
a
a whole
year.
other ritual suite of armor. And we're excited to sort of replenish that base Guardian fantasy. But just because we're doing that in the final shape year, that doesn't mean that we communicated this soon enough. So also for this year, we want to take an armor set that we were going to put in the Eververse, and we're saying, no. We should have communicated this earlier. It's really important that our fans can trust us. Let's take this armor set that we were going to use in Season 22 for the Eververse set, and let's say, no, it's going to be free, and we're going to put it as ritual rewards. So next season, before the end of the season, you should see a brand new armor set that you can earn through playing Strikes, Crucible, Gambit as like a ritual reward for doing this, a brand new armor look. Again, we're confident in our strategy going forward. We believe this is the right priority going forward, but also it's our responsibility to communicate this stuff sooner So we want to make sure that we're doing the right thing by all the fans.
It's not the worst trade-off ever.
All right, I think that's armor. Let's talk about comms. Okay, we've talked a lot about how the development team is very busy, and I think that although we really want to be focused on delivering great content to y'all and making sure that's our top priority, that doesn't mean our communications have to suffer. And so the first thing, we want to be talking to y'all more. But talking to y'all more, our number one priority, we have to keep our community members and our community leaders safe from the Bungie side. I don't want anyone that signs up to come work at Bungie and to talk to y'all about the game to have to worry about their personal safety. So we're going to keep using our branded accounts. You'll see these on Twitter and you'll see these on Reddit, right? And we want to be using those accounts with more personality, going and talking to y'all more.
Yes.
The other thing is
say something.
me. I play the game a bunch. And right now, I don't have a bunch of time to be writing sort of big, long blog posts like you would assume. But when season 22 rolls around again, I'm going to be in the game a lot. I'm going to be playing a lot. So what we want to do is commit to a few times next season and the season after. I'm just going to stream me playing the game. And you'll be able to come and talk to me.
Very
and
nice.
It's not going to be
Yo.
reveal packed, but it is a great time to just be like, hey, check in with Joe. These are the things that we're feeling. Get his opinions on them. And hopefully, if I can get
Joe
and play
streams.
with some of our like elite players, me learn a bit more about the game. I learn a ton from playing with y'all in the community about different builds that are exciting and different ways to roll. So I want to commit, get out there, play some PvP, learn from some experts, and play alongside all of you.
This is going to go. This is not going to go well.
All right. The only thing that I have left here is closed.
It's going to be some content.
So I think that means my rambling on here today is over. Thanks so much for listening to this, for watching this. Really excited to see a bunch of y'all next week at the reveal. Bye.
All right. So there we have it. That was the Joe Blackburn follow-up to the state of the game. Obviously, we covered the state of the game. We've covered the backlash here. Obviously, we're always covering the news. So we go through some of these bullet points. Of course, the reason why they're addressing this is because the state of the game fell short. If you looked at previous years, the state of the game left the community super hyped, super excited, looking forward to the future of the game. Every time it was just an absolute grand slam, basically. And this time it just fell short so much so that they wanted to do this follow-up video. And I think that it has helped amend to some degree. I don't know that's necessarily going to fix it because obviously there's still a lot of issues going on. First part they mentioned is, of course, again, the showcase. They're really hyping up the showcase, and I think that they should, manage expectations to some degree because we're kind of expecting the showcase to be the greatest reveal we've ever seen in Destiny. And if it falls short of anything other than that, a lot of people are just going to be pissed. But, manage your expectations to some degree. But at this point in time, it's hard to even manage them because they've literally been hyping this thing up for so long now that it literally has to knock everyone's socks off. The next part they mentioned is talking about PvP, and they try to like hyper focus in on the maps, which is good. The PvP strike team is good, and the loot that they would probably come out with. I mean, it seems like they're going to have a more dedicated PvP team now, which is something that we've needed for quite some time. I'm surprised that it's taken this long to get to this point. Obviously, a lot of their PvP devs probably got shifted over to Marathon and helping build their new PvP IP, but having a PvP specific strike team is a really good thing. I'm definitely looking forward to that and seeing some actual consistent updates and some good changes being brought to PvP. The next part they mentioned was the armor, which was something that I've obviously criticized quite a bit in Reddit as well, just due to the fact that, they only have to come out with this set once annually, and they said that they don't want to do it anymore, that it's too much work for them and stuff. And obviously there's various different criticisms of that, whether or not it's really extensive work and, if they could do it. But it seems more like what they tried to reason was that it's not really worth it because there's all these other armor sets. But the problem with that is just that there's so much invested into Eververse. And he tried to create the hierarchy of like the highest and the best armor is, of course, raids, dungeons, and trials and stuff, but it really feels like Eververse is the highest tier of armor in Bungie's priority list there, and there's just so much of it. So I think that their efforts to give a free Eververse set to everyone to remedy that is a step in the right direction. I don't know if that's necessarily going to fix the issue, but it is at least a step in the right direction. And obviously, that's going to cost them. They're going to have to eat the costs of that. You know, they have to pay for all the devs to develop that stuff, and it's not cheap. I know I made the video talking about how it took them 20 minutes to make the helmet and stuff, but it's definitely not cheap, and it's not especially easy by any means. I'm not saying it's super easy, but it is a step in the right direction. I think that that does help. Their communications is an interesting one. How they're going to now communicate a little bit more. What they're referencing is their Destiny 2 team Twitter account, which basically just sits there and does nothing. And they're actually going to start communicating with that and actually responding to issues, which is good, and definitely looking forward to that. Obviously, they do need to keep their community members safe, as we saw the previous Bungie community manager, DMG, was harassed literally out of his job to some degree and had to go through a huge court case and all of that. We covered the news of that. It was really crazy. So definitely good to see more comms from them and to see a Joe Blackburn stream. Now, this is going to be something special for sure. Obviously, he's going to be jumping into PvP, jumping into raids, I imagine. And I know that the harassment is going to be just off the charts. So hopefully, he has good moderation and understands what he's really getting into here. But overall, I think it will be good to see a Bungie dev, especially one that's so high up like Joe. Like Joe is up there with like the most influential, most powerful Bungie devs, right? It's good to see someone like them sit down, play the game, and experience the issues we have. You know, like if he's hitting a brick wall of a bunch of error codes, if he's matching a bunch of cheaters in trials, if he's, you know, they get stuck in the raid due to glitches, get stuck in a wall. Like we want to see Bungie experience our pains and frustrations, and so that way they can actually fix these issues and understand, oh, this is why people are frustrated playing this game right now. And so I like that. It's going to make for some absolutely insane content. Obviously, like the clips of him getting, he's going to get stream sniped by cheaters endlessly in trials, right? The clips of him getting stream sniped by cheaters are just going to be crazy. And any sort of bugs or glitches that he runs into is also going to be some pretty viral content. So make sure you're subscribed here with notifications on if you want to get that spicy content as soon as that does go live, because you already know we're going to be covering all of that. So let me know your thoughts. Where do you rank Joe's video out of 10 and Bungie's response to their follow up to the state of the game? And make sure to smash the like button, and I'll see you in the next one. Click on the screen here to watch the next video. Thanks for watching, as always. Later.